This is the Tom Anderson Show, broadcasting live from the KVNT studios, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday.
U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan joins the program. Always a pleasure to have him check in with Alaskans and Americans. We're going to make a YouTube video of this interview, so make your comments below on the channel. Senator Sullivan, China, Russia, Navy vessels, 11 of them. This has been the headline news internationally, certainly in Alaska. Aleutian Islands coming into our neck of the woods, our waters. What's your take on that?
Well, Tom, it's unprecedented. And by the way, great to be back on the show.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure.
I'm home for the month. I just finished up a week of Marine Corps Reserve duty, and now I'm here for a month, going to be all over the state. So it's just great to be back on the show, great to be home. But as you said, this is big news, not just for Alaska, but if you're paying attention, it's big news for America. It's big news internationally. And why is that? One, it's unprecedented. 11 Chinese and Russian warships operating together off the coast of Alaska, in my view, is clearly another reminder, and you and I have talked about it on your show a lot, that we've entered into this new era of authoritarian aggression led by the dictators in Beijing and Moscow. Now, it's unprecedented in terms of the size and scope of this joint naval task force. Two of our big adversaries working very closely together, and I think it just shows what we all in Alaska know is so important, but that we're such a strategically located part of America.
Proximity is now on the map. I think folks in the lower 48 in Hawaii, if they didn't get it, they get it with these headlines. Okay, I'm going to ask a tough question. What's more of a threat? Balloons and drones monitoring us across the nation, starting in Alaska and moseying along until we shoot them down, or 11 naval vessels, or are they equally a threat?
Well, I think they're part of the same, attempts by these dictatorships to push their aggressiveness directly to the United States, and it's directly to us. Right, Alaska. The one thing that, the outgoing NORTHCOM commander, this guy, General Van Herk, who I think's done a really good job, he's prioritized the importance of Alaska. He's prioritized the importance of the Arctic. He has been a voice in the Pentagon, and there are not many, Tom, believe it or not, that have been joining with me. I've been pressing for more naval presence, Coast Guard presence, Marine Corps presence in Alaska, more Arctic-capable vessels, more infrastructure to host these kind of assets, like the Deepwater Port in Nome, which we're finally building, that can handle icebreakers and Navy destroyers. So he's been great on that. And believe it or not, in my view, and I love our military, but the Pentagon has been asleep at the switch on the issues of the importance of the Arctic, Indo-PACOM region, and Alaska. But to your question, the key issue, and it relates to the balloons, is what the military refers to as domain awareness. Domain awareness. And it gets to your point. Right now, we have the ability to track, intercept these balloons with certain radar and ballistic missiles. We have all the radar systems. I like to say Alaska is the cornerstone of America's missile defense. We have all the radar systems and the ground-based missile interceptors at Fort Greely that would shoot down any missile coming into the United States, to hit New York City or Miami or anywhere, right? It's all based here that we protect the whole country. Alaska does. Our missile defense battalion at Fort Greely, they have this great line. It's about 300 men and women. the 300 protecting the 300 million, right? It's like the modern day Spartans. But here's the thing we're missing. We don't have domain awareness at all for the next threats to our country, to Alaska. That's hypersonics. That's these cruise missiles. And we need to be able, there's the technology to have that. We need to be able to have those systems here in Alaska to have domain awareness on those new threats. And the reason it matters so much, not just to Alaskans, if China and Russia are going to attack, as we've seen, America with those kind of weapon systems, they all go through Alaska first, right? So we are not only a force projection platform with our military here, but we're also the front line of defense, not just for our own state, but for the whole country. And again, that's another reason why we are so darn strategic. And if the Pentagon didn't think we were strategic, I think this 11-ship joint task force is going to wake a lot of people up in the Pentagon.
Oh, I think for sure. We're talking with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan, Republican, Alaska. I think, and I talked with Fred Fleitz early in the week on this. He's the former National Security Council Chief of Staff under John Bolton, under President Trump. And he agreed, and I have a hunch you will agree too, in a really small way, this is positive in one kind of avenue of thinking and strategy, and that is that it's going to fuel the fire of congressional members across the nation, and you've already been advocating with Lisa on this, for funding of military operations, certainly in Alaska, and putting Arctic policy on the map. People now hopefully realize how crucial funding Arctic policy, exploration, certainly defense, monitoring is. Would you agree?
Yes, that's a great point that you and he made. And I'll give you kind of the most immediate element that was positive. And then to your point, longer term, this is going to help us in what I've been pressing on since the moment I got to the Senate, which is all these things, infrastructure, more assets, the ability to, have a Navy ship that could pull up into a real Arctic port like Nome. We don't have that capability yet, but we're building it. And this will help other members. It was really interesting. There was a big coteau of House members, congressional delegation of House members, bunch who are on the armed services in the House who were in town last week, right when all this was happening. And I made sure they got this top secret brief from the Alaska Command military leadership here in Alaska. And you should have seen these members, good guys. It was a bipartisan group of House Republicans and Democrats, but their eyes were wide open.
I have no doubt. Yeah. And it was by the way, Senator Sullivan is probably at the pinnacle of advocacy on behalf of our military. What's your rank? And when you talk about service in the military, can you explain to the public what you do on your off hours from being a senator?
Well, I'm a colonel in the Marines and going on 30 years. So that's a lot of active duty time and reserve time. My current billet right now is in what's called Marine Forces Pacific Command. So that's the subordinate Marine Command group that is under the Indo-PACOM Combatant Command based in Hawaii, and I'm the Reserve Chief of Staff for that entire command. For the Marines there, that MARFOR PAC, as we call it, oversees 1st MEF, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, and the 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force. So that's about 2/3 of the Marine Corps. So it's a great billet. I love that part of my life. I love being in the Marines. I'm the only senator still serving in the military. It's probably going to end soon. I got passed over for promotion last year. I put in another package for promotion this year. Probably not going to happen. But
and that would what? To be a general?
To be a 1-star general. So
wow.
we'll see. But
a brigadier general. Senator Sullivan, do you have time for a little bit more segment, or do you got to bounce?
Well, hey, just one. I got to run, Tom, but I want to just mention one final thing that was important on this, and I'll be real quick. Last year, the Chinese and Russians sent a smaller surface action group of Navy ships. We sent one Coast Guard cutter. I love the Coast Guard. Don't get me wrong, but one Coast Guard cutter was not the right signal. I mentioned to a number of military leaders, they're going to do this again, and we better have a better response.
We better have one. I'm glad you're a sentinel, Senator Sullivan. Senator Dan Sullivan, always a pleasure. Keep up the good work, my friend, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Tom. Great to be on the program. You keep up the great work. Thank
you, my friend. Folks, TomAndersonShow.com. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay with us.